All right, hey guys, it's Dr. McGrath. I'm here to talk about the first step in cellular respiration, which is glycolysis. It is the breakdown of a 6-carbon sugar into 2 3-carbon molecules of pyruvate. This happens in the cytoplasm of the cell. This happens with or without oxygen present, and it is our first step. So what we start with is we start with a 6-carbon molecule, a sugar molecule. So the sandwich that you ate earlier was broken down by your body, and now the glucose is getting transported into your cells. Glucose is a very stable molecule, well, pretty stable. It's not just going to break down on its own. So when we want to break down glucose, when we want to start the process, we actually have to put in a little bit of energy to get it going. So we can get our payout at the end. So we talked about before the energy currency in the cell. The thing that we use to get processes going is the hydrolysis of ATP. So we have this 6-carbon molecule. We have to put in the energy from 2 ATPs. So 2 ATPs are converted to 2 ADPs. When we do that, we also get 2 NADHs. So NADH converts from NADH to NAD+, and it is an electron carrier, and I'll talk about that in another video, but we get some electrons and some hydrogen ions off here. So what we've done now, this is our energy investment phase where we have put in 2 ATPs to get this process going. Then we have our energy harvest phase, and our energy harvest phase takes 4 ADPs and we get out 4 ATPs and 2 molecules of pyruvate. So overall, we've spent 2 ATPs, but we got out 4 ATPs. So our net that we have made is 2 ATPs, which isn't a lot, but it's better than nothing. So now we're going to zoom in on this process a little bit and tell you what actually happens. So we have our glucose molecule here. And so the first thing that happens is we add a phosphate from one of our ATPs, because we added 2 ATPs to start with. So we add the phosphate from one. So we end up with a 6-carbon molecule, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with a phosphate on the end of it. Okay, so we're putting in the energy here. And now, if we have a ton of ATP in the cell doesn't really need any more ATP, right? ATP is a short-term energy storage molecule. It would be better to save this as glucose or glycogen or fat if we don't need it right now. So the next step, so this is glucose 6-phosphate here. So glucose, and on the 6th carbon it has a phosphate. So right now we can kind of decide, okay, do we need the ATP or no? So there's another enzyme that's going to add another phosphate group on this. And so we'll end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We end up with glucose 1,6-bisphosphate. So it has a phosphate on each side. The enzyme that does this is called phosphofructokinase, PFK. So phosphofructokinase is an enzyme that is inhibited if you have a ton of ATP, which makes sense. If you have a ton of ATP, you don't need any more ATP, phosphofructokinase is inhibited, and you end up here. You're not breaking down any glucose. Phosphofructokinase, it's inhibited by ATP. That stops it from working. But what makes it work, it has 2 allosteric sites. What makes it work is AMP, adenosine monophosphate. So if you are using a bunch of ATP, running out, and you have the start products of it, then phosphofructokinase goes, oh crap, let's break down some glucose, okay? So phosphofructokinase is kind of like our tipping point. He's the guy that's deciding what's gonna happen. Are we gonna go or are we not? So once we add that second phosphate on, then we have the ball rolling and we're going. So then what happens here is we then continue on, and this will then break into 2 pieces. And there's a bunch of other enzymes that are involved in these steps, but you don't need to memorize all the names of those enzymes. You will for your biochemistry class, but not for this class. So this breaks down, and so we have 2 3-carbon molecules here with the phosphates on them. And we also get our NADH here, okay? And these NADHs, as I said, they're electron carriers, and we'll go more into that in another video. So then we have these 2 3-carbon molecules And this is where we get our payout of ATP. Now they're stripped off. So each one of those can give us 2 ATP. So we have 4 ADP, which turn into 4 ATP. And then we get our 2, 3 carbon molecules, which are pyruvate. So the kind of shorthand of this step, so in this, the glucose is a 6 carbon molecule. We add our first phosphate to it, we have glucose 6-phosphate, and then we have like our decision step that's going to be made by phosphofructokinase. If we need ATP, phosphofructokinase will add the other phosphate on there, and then we're going. The molecule will split in half, we'll get our 2 NADHs, and then we will strip off our energy in our energy harvest phase and get our 4 ATPs. So at the end of this, we have 2 NADHs, 2 pyruvates, and a net of 2 ATPs. Remember, this is all happening in the cytosol of the cell. We haven't gone into the mitochondria yet or anything. This is just making 2 pyruvate molecules from glucose. So we'll talk about the next steps in the next video. Bye guys.